The date was February 13, 2017, and the small, quiet town of Delphi, Indiana, was about to become the epicenter of an unsolved double homicide that would haunt the American landscape for years. This is the true crime story of the Delphi murders, and the girls at its heart, 14-year-old Libby, German, and 13-year-old Abigail, Abby, Williams. These two bright, vibrant teenagers, inseparable best friends, had decided to enjoy a rare, warm winter afternoon hiking on the Delphi historic trails, specifically crossing the dilapidated and eerie Monon High Bridge, an abandoned railway trestle soaring over Deer Creek. Libby's older sister, Kelsey German, dropped them off at the trailhead near County Road 300 North at around 1:30 p.m. It was a simple, innocent plan for a school holiday. Libby, known for her quick wit and technological savvy, made sure to post a photo of Abby walking the bridge to Snapchat at 2:07 p.m., a small digital footprint that would become one of the most vital and chilling pieces of evidence in the entire case. This simple act of documenting their day was the last definitive proof of their safety. When Libby's father, Derek German, arrived at the designated pickup spot at 3:15 p.m., the girls were nowhere to be seen. Initial worry quickly morphed into panic as the families launched their own frantic search, a search that initially yielded nothing but silence. By 5:30 p.m., the girls were officially reported missing, setting off a massive community effort. Hundreds of local residents joined law enforcement in scouring the vast, dense woodland surrounding Deer Creek. The initial assumption, tragically common in missing persons cases, was that the girls had simply lost their way, perhaps slipped in the mud, or been caught out by the rapidly cooling temperature. But the discovery made the following day, February 14th, shattered all illusions of a simple accident. At noon, the girls' bodies were discovered less than a mile from the Monon High Bridge, on the north bank of Deer Creek. They had been brutally murdered, confirming the worst fears and plunging Delphi into a nightmare. The exact nature of the brutality was initially withheld by police, a crucial investigative decision, but later details revealed the cold, malice-filled intent of the killer. The autopsies determined their deaths were homicides by sharp force trauma, their throats slit, and evidence of them having been moved or staged was noted by investigators, adding a dark ritualistic suspicion to the case. The specific staging, including Libby being found nude and Abby clothed in Libby's apparel, raised early speculation among crime profilers about a sexually motivated and highly organized offender, yet the eventual arrest would challenge aspects of this early profile. The case instantly went high profile, but what made the Delphi murders unique was the tiny, horrific gift Libby German gave investigators. On her phone, discovered near her body, was a short video. In the video, a man can be seen approaching the girls on the bridge, his gait unremarkable, his face obscured. Crucially, the clip also contained an audio recording. Over the sound of crunching gravel, a muffled, chilling voice can be heard uttering 4 words, "Down the hill." This grainy image and 5-second audio clip instantly provided the world with the first and most haunting image of the suspect, the bridge guy. Police released the image, the audio, and later, a composite sketch of the killer, hoping the public's massive reach would break the case. The early investigation was a chaos of conflicting evidence and red herrings. 2 different composite sketches were released years apart, fueling confusion and countless internet theories. The first sketch, released shortly after the murders, depicted a younger man, perhaps in his 20s or 30s. The second, released years later, showed an older man, rugged and bearded. This disparity alone became a major source of controversy and public debate, leading to vast amounts of misinformation online. The internet sleuth community exploded around this case. Forums like Reddit and countless YouTube channels became digital command centers where evidence, theories, and suspects were endlessly dissected, sometimes helpfully, often to the detriment of the investigation and the privacy of the victims' families. The victims, Libby and Abby, were often reduced to mere statistics or characters in a macabre drama, overshadowing the profound tragedy of their lost young lives. Libby's profile, The active social media user and budding entrepreneur, the one who instinctively hit record, suggested a young woman with situational awareness and a fighting spirit, elements cruelly exploited by the killer. Abby's profile, the quieter artistic soul who went along with the hike, highlighted the randomness of the crime, demonstrating how easily innocence can be targeted. Their shared, simple desire to enjoy an afternoon outdoors was their only mistake. For 5 years, the case remained cold, despite the massive media coverage. Suspects came and went, including local men and online personalities. The lack of an arrest generated intense social reaction. Many criticized the Indiana State Police for their handling of the initial evidence, the confusing sketches, and the constant gag orders that seemed to stifle information rather than protect it. The families of Libby and Abby, particularly Libby's grandfather, Mike Patty, maintained a relentless public presence, keeping the girl's memory and the pursuit of justice alive. The feeling of hopelessness in the tight-knit community of Delphi was palpable, a constant gnawing pain that permeated every aspect of life. This community trauma was deepened by the ongoing flow of rumors and unverified theories, forcing residents to constantly look over their shoulders, doubting their neighbors and the effectiveness of their local institutions. Then, on October 26, 2022, everything changed. Richard Matthew Allen, a local man from Delphi who worked at a CVS pharmacy, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. Allen, an unassuming, middle-aged man, married with no public record of violent crime, had initially been interviewed back in 2017, but was dismissed as a non-suspect. The breakthrough came from a single, unfired, .40 caliber round found between the bodies of the girls, an item investigators had long focused on. This bullet was later forensically matched to a gun registered to Richard Allen, though the initial connection was delayed due to an incorrectly recorded tip in 2017. Allen's profile was instantly shocking. A married father, a seemingly upstanding member of the community, working in a customer-facing role, hiding a dark, murderous secret. Allen's psychological profile, based on analysis, appeared to align more with a disorganized or power-assertive offender, perhaps one who experienced a sudden, overwhelming break from reality, or a deeply suppressed compulsion rather than the organized, meticulous predator initially theorized. His life as a quiet, dependent community member suggested a killer who was skilled at masking his internal conflicts and the depth of his malice behind a veneer of normalcy. The arrest, however, was just the beginning of a fresh wave of controversy and legal turmoil. Allen's defense team, led by attorneys Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rozzi, raised explosive accusations, including the claim that the girls were killed as part of a ritualistic pagan sacrifice, citing what they called unorthodox staging of the bodies and symbols found at the scene. Furthermore, they alleged that the dozens of confessions Allen made while incarcerated, including calls to his wife and mother where he admitted, "I killed Abby and Libby," 5 times or more, were coerced and unreliable, arguing that Allen was suffering from severe mental illness and psychosis due to his harsh confinement conditions. The defense brought in clinical and neuropsychologists who testified that Allen was suffering from major depressive disorder, anxiety, and psychosis, exacerbated by his placement on suicide watch and solitary confinement, leading him to lose significant weight, dropping to 122 pounds at his lowest and potentially hallucinate. Evidence was presented showing Allen exhibiting extreme distress, including eating his own feces and banging his head against the wall of his cell, attempting to paint a picture of a man whose mental deterioration led to involuntary, false admissions to escape his mental anguish. The prosecution fiercely countered that Allen provided details only the killer would know, such as the clothes swapping and the specific mention of the girls' names, and that his confessions, made over 60 times to multiple individuals, were genuine admissions of guilt, regardless of his mental state. They also highlighted the match between his voice and the chilling, "Down the Hill" recording. This clash over the admissibility and reliability of the jailhouse confessions became the central legal battle, severely testing the bounds of due process and mental health consideration in high-profile criminal cases. The trial itself was fraught with legal drama, including the temporary removal and reinstatement of Allen's defense counsel and intense debate over the admissibility of the controversial confessions and the crime scene staging theories. Judge Fran Gull ultimately ruled against allowing the defense's odinist ritualistic killing theory, citing a lack of direct connection to Allen. Ultimately, Richard Allen was convicted on all counts in November 2024 and was sentenced in December 2024 to 130 years in prison, 2 consecutive 65-year terms. The legal outcome provided closure for the community, which erupted in cheers upon the guilty verdict. However, the legal controversy continues. Allen's attorneys have filed a motion to appeal the conviction, arguing judicial errors and the flawed admission of the confession evidence. The defense maintains that a fair trial was impossible given the media saturation and the complex mental health issues surrounding the defendant. The Delphi murders serve as a stark reminder of the random, devastating nature of true crime and the power of technology in both solving and complicating criminal cases. The tragedy of Libby and Abby underscores the absolute necessity of personal safety awareness, even in seemingly serene environments. We, the audience, must never allow the sensational elements of a case to overshadow the human cost. Our actionable conclusion, the lessons we must learn, is twofold. First, we must support the victims' families not just with fleeting interest, but with sustained advocacy for resources and legal transparency, ensuring that systemic failures like the initial misfiling of tips are addressed. Second, as online citizens, we must practice extreme caution and ethical responsibility when discussing sensitive investigations, recognizing that our speculation, while often well-intentioned, can compromise due process or inflict further pain on grieving families. We must use the story of Libby and Abby not as mere entertainment, but as a commitment to vigilance, to honoring their memory by fostering safer communities, and to persistently demanding truth and accountability from the justice system. The case, now legally closed with a conviction, remains a profound analytical study of small-town horror, digital evidence, the enduring complexity of the killer's mind, and the heavy legal burden of determining intent versus mental anguish in the pursuit of justice.